Hello, sir. Good evening.
Ji, good evening, ji, good evening.
We are talking about your book, The Revolutionaries Shed Their Blood for India's Independence, Part 2,
Ji,
by Justice S N Aggarwal,
जी,
former judge, Punjab and Haryana High Court.
जी,
So, we were discussing about Lahore conspiracy case 1930.
जी,
So, in this continuation, now
जी,
today we will try to know what
जी,
happened in a legislative assembly bomb case.
जी,
Yes, sir.
A little bit backside, they had committed the murder of Sanders
Mhm.
on 18/12, 1928, and
Mhm.
immediately posters were plastered throughout the city of Lahore in spite
Mhm.
of the police vigilance. And Bhagat Singh, by picking up the son of Durga Bhabi Suchinder,
Mhm.
and boarded the train second class on 20th
Mhm.
October, not 20th December
Mhm.
1928, and reached Calcutta. Shivaram Rajguru also traveled with him as his peon. Acha, then the police was absolutely clueless what to do, how to find out the murderers or the culprits.
Mhm.
Then, in the meantime, when Bhagat Singh reached Calcutta, the Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose as was addressing the youth, and he also attended. Bhagat Singh also attended. In the meantime, they were preparing for the throwing the bomb in the assembly because they were passing a bill against the labor.
Mhm.
It was 8th April 29.
Mhm.
So both Bhagat Singh and Batukeshwar Dutt, they
Yes.
were sitting uh, in the gallery of the
Mhm.
assembly.
Mhm.
So at about 12:30 p.m., when George Custer stood up in the assembly to make the announcement of public safety bill,
Mhm.
Bhagat Singh and Batukeshwar Dutt threw two bombs, one after the other,
Mhm.
and they did it on vacant seats so that nobody is hurt that way. But few injuries were caused, and but they stood there uh, not to run away from they being arrested. They stood there for being arrested. They also threw pamphlets of Hindustan Socialist Republican Party, and
Mhm.
it was ultimately they were arrested. And case was investigated, and the challan was presented in the court. When the court asked Bhagat Singh what they did, why they did it, Bhagat Singh made such a beautiful speech, statement, which is recorded. We say statement. He said, KBG, we are not terrorists or we are not anarchists. We are revolutionaries. He also gave a meaning of revolutionaries and also quoted a very long statement. He also quoted the words of S.R. Das, in a letter he has written to his son. He said, consequently, bearing in mind the words of the late S.R. Das, one law member of Governor General's Executive Council, which appeared in the famous letter he had addressed to his son to the effect that a bomb was necessary to awaken England. So therefore, he said that is why they are using it. So ultimately, in spite of this explanation given by Bhagat Singh, lekin in spite of that, they had. Can if they wanted to kill, why they could set the bomb on the head of a person? They didn't mean it. They only wanted to awaken the British people. And ultimately, the judgment was given. It is on page 44. It was on 12 June 1929 that the judgment was given, and both Batukeshwar Dutt and Bhagat Singh was convicted, and they were sentenced under section 307, that with section 10 of the uh, section 3 of the Explosive Substances Act. Although Bhagat Singh didn't want it, but his father, Kishan Singh, he filed an appeal. Appeal was dismissed on 13 January 1930. Thereafter, he was transferred to Miawali jail. And Bhagat Singh then wrote a letter that I am not facing the trial in Lahore conspiracy case at Lahore. Why have you brought me to Miawali? But there they arranged for his identification parade. Many other patriots were, other convicts were made to sit with him, and somebody identified that yes, this is Bhagat Singh. So ultimately, then he was brought to Lahore conspiracy case in Lahore. So at that time, number of other persons were already there, and the first of all, the proceedings were recorded in the court of the magistrate, as we used to call commitment proceedings. So the statements were recorded, but one G.N. Das, he went on hunger strike and he died on 1929. Ultimately, the case was presented in the court of the special tribunal. Patriots, they confessed that yes, they did it. Then statement of some of the some of the persons who were already revolutionaries, they confessed and became approvers. Their statements were recorded. The virtually neither they were neither the witness or the prosecution were cross-examined, nor the accused, nor the statements of the accused were recorded, of the revolutionary were recorded, nor revolutionary were given any opportunity to produce their evidence. So ultimately, the date was fixed for judgment on 8 October 1931. The case started on 5/5/1930, and the case was then fixed for 8th October 1930. There were about 25 revolutionaries who were put on trial, but the judgment was prepared by them before the 8th October, and ultimately it was announced on 7th October 1930, in which the three persons, Sukhdev, Rajguru, and Bhagat Singh, they were convicted to death, sentenced to death, and the other patriots were deportation for life to cellular jail. Chandrasekhar Azad, he had not, he had become a absconder, and he had gone to ultimately somewhere in UP. He had killed himself when he was surrounded by the British police. So when the judgment came, they filed the appeal. In spite of Bhagat Singh's denial not to file the appeal. But appeal also, they used to say that whatever the trial court has said, we go by that reason, and that they have not. Ultimately, they were to hang them in the morning of 24th March 1931, but because there was a lot of questions, so therefore they picked them up on the night of at about 6-7 p.m. on 23 March, 23 March 1931, and they burned the dead bodies of all the three patriots. So ultimately, then they held a conference on 8th and 9th April in Amritsar. In the meantime, Sukhdev was writing a letter in the name of countrymen. So they thought that the letter judgment would be announced on 8th October 1930. So when they were called on 7th October, so therefore the letter was not complete. You can see one page of the letter, page 200.
200. Okay. Ah, yes.
Hanji. And
Hmm.
ultimately, when they were taken to the gallows, all the three their hand and said, कभी वो भी दिन आएगा जब अपनी ही जमी होगी अपना ही आसमां होगा. Well, ultimately they were executed on in the evening of 3 March 1931. So the remaining 7, 8 patriots were deported to the Andaman Cellular Jail to undergo all the tortures, and so this chapter came to be ended now. The next case, Chittagong Armory Raid case, we can also discuss too.
Okay, just a few queries regarding this.
Hanji.
What might be the strategy of Britishers in executing these these three freedom fighters?
This was like this when the person who had gone on hunger strike and had died on 13 in the jail because of the hunger strike. He was Mr. Das. It is mentioned somewhere. Then the dead body of Das was sent to Calcutta. At that time, 5 lakhs of people joined the procession, cremation procession of Das. So the British were afraid for this reason that they will not hand over the dead bodies to those parents, so
See,
that they
but,
may not.
my question is that why Britishers were not afraid of hanging them? Because if they hang them, then it will fire back, or it will create more problems for them.
And they hanged, they were not much afraid of, for the reason that their regime was there, police was there, military was there, everything was there. Judgment was already announced on 7th October 1930. Means 3 months this year, 30th of 1930, and 2, 3 months of 1931. So for 5 months they remained in jail after the death sentence was awarded to them. So
Mhm.
instead of taking them on 8th October, which was 24th morning, as was already fixed, they silently picked them up and burned the dead bodies on 3 March.
No, no, my submission is that Kala Pani could not control the freedom movement,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
these hangings also
Did
uh,
not stop.
they could not stop. So why they did not try to find some political solution instead of suppressing these things
There
with
was no,
heavy
Pradeep ji,
hand?
there was no political solution, because Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, when he was making a speech on December 21, when Bhagat Singh reached there at that time, he said that he discussed both the policies of Mahatma Gandhi and of Arvindu Ghosh. He said one school of thought, they say that don't go to violence. The other school of Arvindu, by that time, he had become a yogi, uh, and they said that go to Vedas. Okay, maybe both the theories are do not serve our purpose. How to get free from the shackles of British regime? That was the main problem. Because Mahatma Gandhi's non-violence, they could discuss with the British people, but they never wanted to part with India, which was a golden sparrow for them. And these people, they didn't stop in spite of the torches in cellular jail, in spite of hangings, and they continued with this.
Mhm.
So there was no political solution, nor the British wanted it. They wanted to eliminate the revolutionaries and continue with Mahatma Gandhi.
For example, if we correlate this Kashmir issue,
Huh.
so in under the Modi government has found a political solution to Kashmir.
That was a solution for all of us. Ask Mehbooba or Farooq Abdullah that are they agreeable to this solution? They had constituted their own regimes. Both
No,
were
now,
ruling the
now,
country.
now, sir, they are isolated. Now,
They are
public is.
isolated, of course,
Uh,
but but still they have a following.
People
Still
have
they say,
realized that those people are not their friends, they are selfish people. So people have realized that that is why they have lost their support. So,
that is right. You
so
are right.
that is a political solution, I think.
There are two things, Pradeep ji. ये जो government, we have done the political solution. This is a country governed by your own people.
Mhm.
That was a foreign government, and there was no policy of the foreign government was acceptable to us.
Mhm.
Within a country or within a family or within a particular town, or you can make arrangements.
Mhm.
But when you are governed by the
Could you throw some light on this Chittagong armory raid case?
Hanji, this was Surya Sen. Surya Sen was the top leader in West Bengal, which is now Bangladesh.
Acha.
So he was the leader of the revolutionary patriots. He
Hmm.
they were like a army,
Okay.
and Surya Sen was a grand leader for them. Say IG or just भी army chief for them. They they entered Chittagong and they made 3 or 4 units separately proceeding. He was
Mhm.
being taken like a king
Hmm.
in a king and
Hmm.
followed by their own military people in military dress. One group went in the side of railway tracks to put down the railways. Other went to the telephone wires, cut the telephone wires, and similarly they did it. It was on April 18, 1930. He was leader of the group and
Hmm.
he led them to the Chittagong. Different separate parties or made. One party went to the post office side and cut the wires of every. Ultimately, they were arrested, and there was a Chittagong Armory Chittagong Armory raid case. So the last message Surya Sen gave to his patriots is you remain united and we are fighting for the independence of the country. A very good wording, it's page on page 212. Ideal and unity was my last message. When he was being on January 12 से रात को जो जनवरी 12 जनवरी 13 की रात को 1934 in Chittagong jail he was made to uh, hang on the gallows. So that is a very decent wording which he said कि मेरा golden dream है. I want to see independent India, that you remain united. Onwards, my comrades, onward, my comrades. Never fall back. The day of bondage is disappearing, and the dawn of freedom is ushered in. Be up and doing. Never be disappointed. Success is sure. So it was that was many persons were sent to the Sabro jail. They were young people, some 29 years, some 18 years. The ages are given on page 212. Long live the revolution, Bande Matram. Bande Matram had also become virtually a slogan for the revolutionaries. In 1997, on December 30, 1997, President K.R. Narayanan, he visited the cellular jail and he gave a message from them. It's a very decent wording which I give it. He said we can transmit to the new generation of Indians at least a little bit of their patriotism, their flaming nationalism, their courage, their capacity for sacrifice. Then we should have done something significant today. It is necessary for us to recall the contribution, the sacrifices the freedom fighters have made for the country, but it is our duty to do so. The president further said, from here, yani ki from the cellular jail, I would like to appeal to the rest of India, nearly 950 million, mean 95 crores people, to turn their eyes to Andamans and to the cellular jail and think of the immense courage, the immense sacrifices our freedom fighters have made for the country, and let that example inspire us, revive in us our patriotism and national spirit. So that was the last message given by the then President of India.
K.R. Narayanan, also the former president, gave message from Cellular Jail.
This is what I have read it.
Yes, yes. Right, sir. Okay, we conclude here for this.
That is right. Then
Next-
again, only Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and I and the trial, they are discussed.
Then that we will discuss in the next episode.
Thank you. Thank you, Pardeep.